A busy Saturday here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway started bright and early. Fans who are camping here for the weekend woke up to a modifieds race at 9 a.m. and then the NASCAR Truck Series took over at noon for their playoff race. And this wasn't just a playoff race either, it was an elimination race. The 10 drivers contending for the championship would be cut down to 8 at the end of the race, so there was a lot on the line. On top of that, Corey Heim in the number 11 truck was looking to make history by getting his 9th win of the season, which would tie him for the all-time Truck Series record for most wins in a single year. He started in first place and took off early with Ty Majeski trailing. Lap 32, the first crash of the day happens in turn 1. A hard hit for Jason Alexander, his rear tires coming off the ground as he tried making a 3-wide pass and it went wrong. Corey Heim kept the lead much of the race. He won both of the opening stages, and then things got a little chaotic with 43 laps to go. A massive crash in turn 3 takes out multiple trucks, including 3-time champion Matt Crafton, who is retiring in a couple of months. His last race in New Hampshire did not end how he wanted. Once the race restarted, one of Heim's closest competitors, New England's own Gio Ruggiero, slipped from second place back to 4th, and Heim would not look back. He led nearly 3/4 of the laps and won his 9th race of the season, making history at the Magic Mile. Now nobody has ever won more Truck Series races in a single year than Corey Heim.
Yeah, I mean, it's a special feeling now. I know it'll be a special feeling when the year is over, regardless of result. But the goal, still remains the same, just trying to win the championship.
Meanwhile, Chandler Smith finished second, but was eliminated from the playoffs because he had a bad race 2 weeks ago and did not earn enough points this round to continue. After the race, he called today's result bittersweet.
Had a fast truck, capable of winning. Started hauling butt there at the end and running down the 11, but it wasn't in the Lord's will today, honestly. And pulled everybody together before the race. We prayed together, and I wanted to let them know that I'm proud of them no matter the outcome today.
Once Heim wrapped up his celebration, it was time for the NASCAR Cup Series to finally hit the track for practice and qualifying. How about this? The fastest driver in practice was none other than William Byron in the 24 car. A reminder, his car chief, Tyler Jones, is from South Royalton, Vermont. He wants to win this race at his home track badly. But when it came down to qualifying, Byron was only 5th fastest as a few other playoff drivers stepped up. Connecticut's own Joey Logano won the pole. He will start first tomorrow with his Team Penske teammate Ryan Blaney starting next to him in second. When talking about winning the pole, Logano says winning the race would be even better, but winning anything back home in New England just means so much to him personally.
It is neat when I do come to Loudon because I am representing, I feel like, everyone that lives around here. Right? I feel like you got to root for the hometown guy. You got to do that, and it's fun to enjoy that piece of it. It's the only time I ever feel a little bit like Dale Jr., just a little bit. Right? I guess super cool.
As for the other drivers starting up front, some are really confident in their cars, while others think it's going to take a lot to beat Logano and some of the other favorites.
The 22 guys, they had a really good test up here at the tire test. They were happy. They thought they learned some stuff. So I had high hopes. I have high hopes going in every weekend, if we can contend for the win and run well. And
if you ask me if a win's kind of on my radar here, I would say no. But then getting in the race car today, I was like, okay, that's one step forward. If we can just, qualifying was another step. So we've got a long 301 laps to kind of figure out where our balance goes and how competitive we are versus the field.
As Byron said, it will be 301 great laps here tomorrow. The Mobil 1 301, New England's only NASCAR playoff race, is now just one sleep away. The green flag waves at 2 o'clock tomorrow, and I will have a full recap right back here tomorrow night. Reporting in Loudon, Matt Holderman, ABC 22 News.